In today's landscape, it's important for schools like West Virginia University to bring in as much revenue as possible. It's also very important that we do everything we can, fans, politicians, administrators alike, to try and save college sports and women's college sports. And in today's episode, we're bringing in a very special guest, Mr. Jay Taylor, who's a state senator from West Virginia District 14. We're going to have a conversation about some bills that he's presenting this legislative session, and we're also just going to talk today's landscape of college athletics. Jay, how you doing today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me on, Couz.
Absolutely. Thanks for being a guest and coming on the show. And shout out to Mr. Brian Shelton for introducing us.
Well, you bet.
As
Brian's
well.
Great senator, and we've been working on a lot of different stuff together. So appreciate Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate Brian as well for being a guest on my show there a few months back. But let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing we want to talk about, I'm just going to ask you, what is your thoughts on, today's landscape of college sports, and where West Virginia University fits into that? Because we know it's all about money these days.
Oh,
revenue sharing, paying the athletes NIL money, obviously, which is outside of the university's purview, but and just all of that, right? What are your overall thoughts on it? And then, as a second part of that question, do you think West Virginia University is set up to be able to stay competitive in that environment?
I guess I should give this little prelude to this. I hate what has become. All the money and all the, everything that's going on, and just it kills me. That college sports isn't the college sports we grew up with. But with that all said, okay, hey, here's the game. And daggone it, we're going to play it, and we're going to do our best, and we're going to make sure that we got WVU set up so that they can compete at the highest levels with all our sports. So last year we got this stuff, those bills to make sure that our NIL was protected. That was a little hard fought over here in the Senate, but we got it done, and I was glad we were able to get what they needed and what they wanted passed. So
yeah. Do you think West Virginia is set up, along with the bills you guys passed last year, and with just, what you've probably heard from some of your counterparts, your constituents, in talking with folks like Ren Baker and Rob Alsop and others, do you think West Virginia is in a good position moving forward to stay competitive?
Certainly, and I think our recruiting has shown it is. We've got it all set up, between the NIL and with, the revenue sharing going on there. Ren has certainly been a tremendous leader for us here, and has got everything just positioned great. It's fabulous to see that we're competing on the highest levels, and we're doing well in all our sports, and I'm looking forward to the future of Mountaineer sports, and that's and some people be like, oh, sports isn't important, blah 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 blah, but that brings in stuff for West Virginia. It's a sense of pride for us, and to be able to make sure that we're competing at the highest levels is just, that opportunity is wonderful, and it's something that our kids can look up to that, and and just be proud of what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, I saw, and I don't know the exact numbers here off the top of my head,
Okay.
but I remember seeing an article the other day, and I should have read it, but I didn't. But it talked about how important West Virginia University is to the state economy.
Yes.
I mean, the percentages I've seen, and again, I don't remember them off the top of my head, but it was a large, and you may even know it off the top of your head.
I saw what you were talking about, that study with both WVU and WVU hospitals, just the amount of GDP that they contribute to the state. And I was like, well, wait a minute, where's the third leg of that stool? What WVU athletics? Because that's that's an important part of that whole pillar. So I'm with with you that was a great story, but I certainly wish they would have included WVU sports, because that's the third pillar of WVU.
Absolutely, and I think you and I both agree that the sports, especially football and men's basketball primarily, are the biggest advertising agency, for lack of a better term, for West Virginia University. Absolutely. That is where when teams win championships in major sports, their enrollment goes up. It's been proven at almost every school, every Power 4 school across the country. I would even argue even non-Power 4 schools, it's probably a thing. Because when you have more eyeballs on your university, more people are introduced to you. You have more games on television, which gives you an opportunity to put more commercials on television, which, more potential students see you. And I have talked to people who said they chose their college, or their child, in most cases for me, their child chose the college they wanted to go to based on their football program.
I wanted to go to the Mountaineers so I could go to Mountaineer games, and
Yeah.
that was what I did when I was senior. I didn't apply anywhere else. It was only WVU.
Yeah.
So,
So it matters. It matters.
Yep, absolutely.
And
Even and here in West Virginia, think about it. Even the Division II and III schools, when they do well in sports, look at how well they do in some of the basketball there.
yes.
Oh, it's great. So I mean that builds up and brings excitement to all the campuses. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of the landscape, and I mentioned in my opening, saving, a lot of us are worried about, Olympic sports
yes,
and women's sports specifically. And I think you've got a bill that you have introduced that they're at the West Virginia legislature there in this session. Can you talk a little bit about that bill and what it would mean if you're able to get it passed and get Governor Morrissey to sign it?
Yes, this is Senate Bill 502, and it's called the Women's Collegiate Sports Protection Act. Now, basically, I've been how this all started is even before I was a senator, I'd be saying to some of the guys at WVU, hey, why don't we have women's softball? That's it's just such a shocker. I've been involved in coached some softball and seen the girls just do really well and aspire to keep on going, and they're like, wait a minute, there's no softball at WVU. And then they come to me and ask, why doesn't WVU have softball? Yeah, you get this all over the place, and then even when you're traveling around to these different spots and playing different teams across the state, that comes up all the time. I'd been bugging them, and then I had a meeting with Ren Baker, and I sat down with him, and I was like, hey, let's come up with a 5-year plan to get softball at WVU. Well, and he, was almost like a little game of chess here, and he was like, well, we got to figure something out here. And basically, he came back with, because if you think about it, with the whole NIL and the stuff going on with that, there's a chance that they could say that those guys, getting all that and getting those revenue share, that they're employees. Okay, so if that happens, Title IX is basically out the door. So that ruins women's sports. Well, all right. So what can we do to, try to help that and make something happen there? And he was telling me about some. I want to say Georgia, maybe it's Texas too. But there's a few other states that have done this where they've kind of set up like a foundation, kind of an endowment where you can have some kind of some matching funds, maybe a little tax credit. We're still working out the details on that in the bill. I'm anxious for it to kind of go through some of the process here so we can get everything all worked out. But that would set up this endowment for women's sports. So, okay. And the nice thing is, all right, suppose the worst that happens and you got it where the men are those employees. All right, well, we've got this endowment set up that feeds that would supply for women's sports and basically covers that. All right, well, maybe something else happens and, all right, no, they're not going to do the men, or employees. That stays the same, or they do something and get that all set up. Well, guess what? We'd have this set up that pays for women's sports. So it's a win-win. Either way that goes. It's protection in case that happens. It pays for it if it doesn't happen, so that you've got that all set up. That'd take that out of the bucket, the men's sport right now, and so then that they've got their own bucket to draw from to help pay for it. And I think that would help pave the way on my eventual goal for softball. But
Gotcha.
in the meantime, we've got that taken care of. So that's my, what we're looking at here. Still, it'd have to go through the education committee and then through finance. But the nice thing is, I've gotten a number of senators to sign on as co-sponsors. WVU is helping to support, and they're excited about it. I know. Hopefully, if we get it up in the committee, Rin would come down and testify, and we can take it from there. Fingers crossed that we can get this through.
So, for those folks who are listening and or watching this, who may share your passion for women's sports, softball, the whole 9 yards, what can they do as constituents or as citizens of the state, if they're citizens of the state, or even if they're just West Virginia fans? I don't guess they have to be citizens of the state. What can they do to, support this? Do they need to write or call their local legislators, or
that
what?
certainly helps to let your legislators know that you support this and you'd like to see this happen. And that's always, especially your own local one,
right.
So that because they like hearing from their own constituents. So that's a big deal there to make sure that
right.
happens.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call it pushback, but I'm going to call it probably the questions you're going to get from those who might oppose it, or those who might be concerned about it, especially those who are worried about West Virginia staying competitive in the major sports that we mentioned earlier. There are only so many people in the state of West Virginia. There are only so many donors to WVU athletics.
Very true.
It's been talked about a lot. So if you've got a donor who wants to support this women's athletics endeavor, they might be having to take the money they would normally give to football or men's basketball and move it over to this, which may couldn't that actually impact the amount of money that's going towards? I mean, because everyone's pockets are only so deep, right? Even if you're a billionaire, you're not going to spend all of your money on there. So what's your answer to that question?
Well, right now there's only this much pie, right? And so we're divvying up that pie. I'm talking about adding another pie. So this would be a different pie that we'd have here, and hopefully we can generate some different interest from people that are only interested in women's sports.
Gotcha.
There's going to be some of those out there that are like, hey, I'm just supporting the women's sports, and that would be the real target. Sure, there's going to be some crossover with it, and I would think any kind of minimal would come from the one, but you're taking that out of the one pot so you can have just the women's sports supported on its own. So that that would make the men's or the other pie bigger.
Right. And just to clarify, even if, let's just say that football players don't become employees of the university, okay? That never happens, even though we think it probably eventually will. We know school presidents are dead against it, and I totally understand why, because you're opening up some cans of worms that you don't want opened.
Right.
As college
something has
administrators.
to happen federally for that, I believe. I think that's the thing there. So,
but let's say it doesn't happen, okay? Right. So the Title IX thing stays in place. It's not an issue anymore. You still have this bucket of money over here that will still help support women's sports.
Correct.
Which and this is where I say this is where I think this could be a great thing here. In my way, I'm thinking this through in my mind, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. But that's less money the school has to put towards women's sports, which means what? They can put more of that money towards football,
right,
or men's basketball, and let this other fund over here, this separate endowment, this separate fund, take care of itself, so to speak.
Exactly.
So it helps everyone.
Right. And I'm this was Rin Baker's idea, so I'm not trying to take that, but I'm certainly thrilled to get to hopefully push it through and steer it through, but I think this is a win-win.
Yeah, I think it helps everyone. Like you say, it helps. Yeah. It also helps the women's sports, and it opens up more. If they don't have to spend as much money keeping the women's sports afloat, which they want to do, obviously,
right,
then they can put more towards the major sports and get even better players, right? The next go around, right? So it's good for everybody. And they've added scholarships. We know they've added scholarships in several of the women's sports and other Olympic sports. And now, did the state, was that a total university thing, or Did
Yeah,
the
that was more
legislature have a role in
bureaucracy.
that at all?
No, I don't think we had anything in that, but I think that was more the board of governors doing that, which that was neat to see. Especially, I think baseball really.
Mhm.
Whoa, you know,
Yeah, they got almost now. They're almost their entire roster now. I think
right,
is maybe not everyone, but most.
right.
Whereas at one
That,
time they only had like 11
yeah, it was
scholarships
real
or
low.
something.
I
It
was
was
kind of
crazy.
confused how we even
Yeah, I
had
don't know
a
if you
great
know.
team.
Yeah, you probably know this since you follow. I notice you. I know you follow baseball too, but you probably know this already. Did you know that West Virginia is spending more on baseball than any other school in the Big 12 right now?
Really? Wow. No, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and we're
I don't know
doing
if it's
great.
more. I don't know if it's. I don't know. Let me back up. I don't know if they're spending a higher amount of money or a higher percentage of the money,
All percent
but yeah, but it's one or
percentage.
the other.
Yeah, yeah.
But that shows how serious they are about competing in baseball.
Oh yeah, it's great,
Yeah.
and the results are there, and wow, it's been fun. Well, not only with that, but look what we're doing even in soccer. I mean, West Virginia has now become the soccer capital.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean, and then
WVU and
even down
Marshall.
south at
Yeah,
Huntington, Marshall's great. So has a great
right.
soccer program.
Yeah,
Two of the
so
premier programs in the country right now
it's
are both
it.
in the state. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're doing some great things with the athletics here, at our universities.
And let's not forget, speaking of Marshall, I know a lot of West Virginia fans don't want to talk about Marshall, but I got a daughter that goes to Marshall, so I do have a little bit of a soft spot for them. But they, that bill you're talking about could potentially help them
Yes,
too, right?
right, right. It's set
It's
up
not
so
just for WVU; it's for all. I would assume it's for all state
for
funded public
I think we
schools.
got it like Division One.
Division One.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So Marshall benefits from it as well.
Yes.
That's
Exactly.
we want to make that clear for all of you folks, there in Huntington, and who root for the herd. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be a Mountaineer fan right now. I think. Look,
Oh yeah.
it hasn't the two major sports especially haven't been where we wanted them to be the last few years, but I think they're on their way up. I like what Ross Hodge is doing in basketball in year one. I like what Rich Rod's first season didn't go well, but I like some of the moves he's made in the offseason.
The
So
recruiting. I mean, that's
yeah,
off the chart.
yeah. I mean, one of the top classes in school history,
Mm-hmm.
if not the best in school history, since they've been keeping track of such things.
And hey,
So
our offensive line next year is just going to be. Oh
yeah, I think it's gonna be legit. I think
yes.
so too. Um, Speaking of soccer, real quick, did you see where Marcus Caldera signed a pro contract yesterday?
No. Wow. Well, that's great.
Yeah, I'm not a big soccer guy, but I did see that headline come across yesterday. So congrats to him.
Yeah.
But Mountaineers are excelling. We've got the uh, McCabe young lady who's excelling in track and field or cross country. They've got, I mean, their golf team's improved. Their wrestling team's doing great right now. Right,
Rifle's
we know
doing
the
great.
rifle team wins championships about national titles about every year. I mean, just there's a lot of great stuff going on at WVU outside of just football and men's basketball. The
We even
women's
had some
basketball team is
esports.
killing it right now. What's that?
Our esports were doing really good there too.
Oh, really? See, I don't even follow that. How are they
No,
doing?
I don't really follow it, but I knew the one year we won some type of national championship in the esports.
Yeah,
So,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on? Speaking of, what are your thoughts on Ross Hodge and the men's basketball team right now?
Boy, they made me nervous the other night.
Yeah.
But I'm liking what we're seeing so far. I mean, you can certainly tell they're starting to gel a little better. Obviously, you know, it's a new team coming together. But boy, I'm liking what we're seeing, and it's going to be fun to see what they can do down the stretch here. And we're getting close to seeing what we might be able to do postseason.
Right. Absolutely. And of course, the women's basketball team as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Tough loss on the road at Utah, but man, they've been playing really well.
they have been.
So some great things going on. But what are your overall thoughts as a West Virginia fan, as a state legislator? What are your overall what else can be done? Do you think by by folks in Charleston to help West Virginia athletics, or have you guys done just with this bill and others that you passed last year? Have you done pretty much all you think you can do, or is there more?
I'm always open to suggestions. I'm hoping that this, 502 this year gets through. We've been starting to talk about it a little bit more and more. Next week's WVU day, I want to say on Wednesday, I think, and so that'll hopefully with them down here we can push a little harder
I
and
got you.
get it on some agendas and get it
Yeah.
moving.
Is that when Ren and some of the coaches come to visit?
I know the president's coming down, so Benson will,
President
Mike
Benson.
Benson's, yeah, he'll be down, and some of his, some of the staff there. I don't know about it. I haven't heard if any of the coaches are coming down with him this time. I figured Ross will be busy with basketball, but
Right.
you
No,
know,
I know last year Coach Rodriguez, I think, came, didn't he?
yes, he did come down early on, so that was nice to see him. And he testified on the NIL bill last year, so.
Right. Yep. And just for those of you, I know Brian explained that bill some when he was on a few months ago, but for those who may be watching for the first time, can you explain the two NIL bills that you're talking about
From last
and
year,
what they
the
kind of
one
what they
offered
mean? Yes.
had some protections in it. That way, you get a student that would renege on a deal or whatever, and break a contract. It gives us a little bit of pushback there to be able to to counter that. It just sets up the rules that they're living by. Make sure we get that in state code. So that was good there. And the other
Gotcha.
one, I think it actually more allowed it better. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
wording that very correctly, but that kind of more set it up so that they can do it.
Yep.
But both of
That's
them
kind of the way my understanding is one basically allowed them to take it,
right.
obviously manage the revenue sharing part of it, which they have to do anyway.
Yes.
And then they're allowed, even though the school can't specifically pay NIL deals, they can help facilitate them.
Yes.
Right. And I think that wasn't that part of one of the bills.
Yeah. And so both of them
they were able to set up a third party entity inside the athletic department to facilitate NIL deals, not pay them, but help connect the athletes with the businesses.
That help bring that Country Roads Trust in internal.
Right. So, okay. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's what I thought. I just wanted to get some clarification on it because that's how I've described it on my show. I just want to make sure that I'm explaining it right. And for those who might be watching this for the first time or hearing about it for the first time, and isn't there also a piece in there that prevents the state from being sued?
That was
or the school from being sued by the NCAA or other entities.
And there's some protections in there for them with their deals. So
right.
I did say that.
Gotcha. Okay. Good deal. Was there anything else you want to talk about? Obviously, talk about what district you're from, what counties it encompasses, and kind of, anything else exciting that you guys got going on there.
I think we've got some good things going on this session. We're hoping to concentrate more on small businesses, whereas in the past we've really concentrated on some of the getting those big boys coming in. So we want to more concentrate on West Virginia businesses, smaller businesses, see what we can do to help them so that they can grow, because that's really the lifeblood here in West Virginia is the small businesses.
Awesome.
So and then we're just we're looking at other things. I've had some stuff going on with CPS to try to get some reforms going there.
Much needed.
Oh, big time. So we're hoping that it's got some attention to it now, and we've got a few bills. Matter of fact, one's coming up here in judiciary just in a little bit. Matter of fact, I'll need to get to that here in just shortly. But yeah, there's I'm looking forward to some of the things we got going on this session.
Awesome. Well, once again, Jay, I know like you mentioned, you've got other meetings to get to, so I won't take up any more of your time. Thanks for coming on the show. And remember, if anybody wants to help him with this Senate Bill 502, make sure you let your local legislators and senators know, hey, we want this bill passed. If you really care about women's sports and you want softball at WVU. Jay, thanks again, man. Have a great day. Yes, sir.